Hi everybody, this is Catherine from In the Pink Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so if you need anything from Stampin' Up!, including the supplies I use today, you can purchase them from me at the address at the top of the screen, and it's also linked below. My project today is a two-piece box that measures 4 3/4 by 3 3/4 by 1 1/4. Right, I thought this came out really cute. It's the DSP goes on the top, and then the cardstock is on the bottom. And this is some lovely new ribbon. It is called Natural Finish Ribbon. It ties a bow very nicely. I like that. So it just opens like this, and you just pull the top, and inside will fit 2 stamp pads. Alrighty, so that just gives you an idea, and there's actually a little bit of room for you to slip a gift card or a note or something inside, but that just gives you, and it's about probably a 1/2 inch more taller than the ink pads are. So if you were wondering what would fit in it, that is it. And I made the top DSP because then it will go together a little bit easier without having to deal with 16ths and stuff like that. So what I used for this is the Sweetest Cherries stamp set along with the Cherry Builder Punch, which is 10% off when you get them together. I used the Stylish Shapes dies for the 2 dotted circles and for the tag, and I used the layering circle dies for the scallop circle. Alrighty, and the DSP is from Awash in Beauty Designer Series paper. Alright, now I did this bottom in Merlot. This time we're going to do it in Mossy Metal. So, this is my host code till the end of May, and if you wanted to get the joining offer of the free supplies in the in colors, you only have till Monday. Okay, and then that runs out. This host code is only for under $150. Over $150, you want to get your Stampin' Rewards. All right, so we need a piece of Merlot or Mossy Meadow for the bottom that is 10.5 by 6. Okay, and then I used a piece of Awash in Beauty DSP that is 10.5 by 5. Right, and then the 3 circles we need. We need 2 from Stylish Shapes. One that is basic white, and it measures 2.5. And then the one from Merlot measures 3 inches. And then from the layering circle dies, from Mossy Meadow, I have one that is 2 7/8. All right, so they're all going to stack up like this. Okay, we need a label out of soft Seafoam. This is also from the Stylish Shapes dies. And we need some basic white for stamping. Alrighty, so we're going to do the bottom first. So let me get my Simply Scored. Now the scoring on both of these is going to be exactly the same. The top is just 1 inch shorter than the bottom. Alright, so we're going to start with the bottom. So 10.5 by 6. We're going to start on the 10.5 inch side, and we're going to score at 1/2, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, and 9 1/4. We're going to turn it to the 6 inch side, and we're going to score at 1 1/4. Okay, so that's that piece. Now we're going to get our piece of DSP that is 10.5, which is the same, but this one's only 5 inches. Okay, and your pattern, if you have a pattern, has to be this way or on the long side. Okay, all right, so it's the same exact scoring: 1/2, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, and 9 1/4. I'm going to turn it to the 5 inch side, and we're going to score at 1 1/4. All right, And I'm going to fold and burnish all of these. Okay, now this is what we're going to do to the bottom. We're going to get rid of this rectangle on the left, and then we're going to wedge the squares. All right, so we're going to start on the left-hand side, go to the first score line, and cut up to the first score line, and then just wedge up a little bit into the piece above it. Okay, go to the next score line, cut it to the first, other side of the square, and cut it to the first, and then we're going to wedge each side of the square. And we're going to go to the next score line, cut it straight to the first score line, and then we're going to wedge each side of the square. Okay, and that's what your cardstock should look like after. All right, now we're going to use some tear and tape, and we're going to put it close to the score line, all the way down the skinniest rectangle here. I'm going to get my Take Your Pick tool to take the backing off. I'm going to flip it over, flip one side, and flip the other side over to meet it. Okay, this is the back of our box, so we're going to put the sides in and the back, and this here is where we want to put the rest of our tear and tape. One close to the edge, and one in a little bit. You could also use liquid glue too if you want it. You just have to wait a little while for it to dry. Okay. I'm just going to close it, make sure it lines up nicely. Okay, and that's our bottom. Okay, so we'll put that to the side. And unfortunately, I scored my cardstock upside down. So when you start, make sure that you're on the long side, that if your cardstock, your DSP has a pattern, it has to be upside down. Okay? But that's all right. I don't mind. It's really kind of abstract once you put everything on it anyway. Okay. So we'll start with it upside down anyway. Okay? And we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to get rid of this piece here on the bottom. But except we're not going to wedge. So we're going to go to the first score line, and then we're not going to wedge up because we need that little extra to help us close it on top of this box because it's going to be off just a little bit. Okay, go to the next score line, cut it to the first score line, other side of the square, cut it to the first score line, and then wedge each side of the square. Okay, the next score line, cut it straight to the first score line and wedge each side of the squares. All right, and this is what the top of your cardstock should look like. And we'll put it this way because this is the way it's supposed to be. That's what it should look like when you've done cutting it and scoring it. Okay, now what we want to do, now the top of this box is going to be made by the flaps that are normally the bottom. All right, so wherever our seam is, that's where we want the back to start. Okay, so this is our seam. It's going to be on the opposite side of the back seam, but that's okay. All right, and we're going to wrap it around. And as you see, when you wrap it around, it's not going to completely reach on this side. That's okay. It's going to be about 1/8 of an inch difference. All right, that's completely okay. That's just so that we didn't have to fool with measurements in the 16ths. Okay, it's still going to be fine. All right, so what we want to do is put our tear and tape on, but you don't want to put it close to the score line this time. You want to put it closer to the edge, just like that, okay? Okay, the score line's up over there. All right, and you can use liquid glue, but you have to be really careful because if it leaks out, it'll glue your whole box together. All right, so let's take the backing off of our tape. All right, and I said that this is the seam, so our seam is going to be on the other side on the back. Okay, then we're just going to wrap it around. And this is just for fit. It's not going to stay there the whole time we're finishing. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this down and push it on top of the tape as far as we can get it down. Okay? All right, now we can finish. Now the seam is over here, so we're going to put our sides down and the back. But since this is the top, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue on those tabs to keep them from getting in the way. All right, so we'll put the back on top of those tabs. I just want to flip it over. Excuse my head if I'm in the way. And I'm just going to press it down a little bit just so that it gets a little bit adhered. Okay, there we go. Make sure that it's all nice and right. So that's our back. Okay, now we can put more tear and tape. And this is going to be one at the edge and one inside. Now this is how I choose to do it. You don't have to do it the same way as me if you find some other way that works better for you. But this is how I do the two-piece boxes. Okay. All right. And then just fold it. Make sure that it's even on the edges, and it might come a little bit back from the top on the back just because of the score lines there too. And I'm just going to make sure that the top really adheres here. Okay. All right, so now let's test it out. Where's my back? Over there. Okay. Now it's going to be a nicely snug fit just because we didn't give any extra room, but then it's not going to fall off, especially if there's something relatively heavy in there. Okay, so that's the box. Okay, now we're going to do some stamping. Okay. All right, first let's do the stamping on our basic white circle, and the circle is about 2.5. All right, and then you just need a piece of scrap. All right, and what I'm going to be doing with this, we're going to be using this background stamp right there. Okay, and we're going to be using it with soft seafoam, which I think is in, is it in there? Yeah, I put it in there. Okay, so now I overlapped this a little bit because it's kind of hard to see it sometimes when you're right on top of it. You can't even see it, so don't, especially when it dries, everything gets nice and evened out. All right, so I'm going to use this background stamp. It would help if I put this on a little bit bigger block. And I'm going to start in the middle. I'm just going to push down. Oops, I do need a Stampin' Pierce mat. It came out okay, but I'm just going to put it on just in case. Put it under my scrap. All right, now how I did this originally was I just stamped a square and then cut the circle out. So this is the first time I'm doing it like this. We missed a little, but it's okay. It's not really going to show too much. Okay, and there we have our background circle. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could also just emboss it, or you could just leave it plain if you want to. You don't have to do all of that if you don't want to. Okay, so now we need our basic white, and I'm going to cut this into a strip so that we don't waste too much with the punch. All right, first I'm going to use my Merry Merlot, which reminds me of the dark cherries you get, you know, the really dark ones. And it kind of reminded me of this in the flower. That's what I picked up. That's what started my project, if you wanted to know my my system. Okay, so I'm going to do the whole cherry first. Okay, I'm just going to cut it out. And then the next cherry, which has the little piece out of it, and that's the one that goes underneath here. But you could do two regular ones if you want and just put them together. It's nice though because it tells you the spacing and it helps you get the stems in line too. Now we need Mossy Meadow, which has been, I don't know what's up with this pad, but it is kind of like overflowing on me, and I've never had to re-ink it yet, so I don't get it. All right, so now we need, let's do one leaf at a time. So we're gonna do this way. One leaf, and then I mean they're the same. You could use the same side of the punch. I don't know why I'm going to the other side, but there we go. Okay, that's my second piece, and now we just need 2 of the stems. And I'm doing them all with Mossy Meadow. Put one there and one up there. Alrighty. Off and do the next one. And you could just cut these out of cardstock if you don't want to do the stamping. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, now here's all our bits. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Merry Merlot 3-inch circle from Stylish Shapes and the Mossy Meadow scallop circle from Layering Circle Dies, that is 2 7/8, and I'm going to just glue them together. And I like to put a smooth circle behind the scallop sometimes because it really shows off the scallop much better than if it's on the DSP that's busy. All right, now we'll set that aside and we're going to work on our cherries. And the cherries are going to go almost all the way to the bottom, probably to the bottom. And just kind of map out where you want them. And I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going, whoop, I'm going to erase that. I'm just going to trace the top so that I know where to put these. Hopefully I can get this off. Yeah, that's no problem. Okay. So I'm just going to get my glue. And if you want to see my new glue holder, it's so adorable. I couldn't stand it. It was from Dollar Tree. It looks just like my dog Max. He is well, it doesn't really have the German he's a German short-haired pointer mix, but this is how his front goes. And he's a mix, so he doesn't have as many spots as a lot of the short-haired pointers have. He sure wants to hunt, though. Oh, goodness gracious, poor squirrels and groundhogs are always running. Okay. And then I'm going to put the other one right on top. And there's the other lines that I put. And I just move it up a tiny bit so that it covers the pencil marks, so I don't have to worry about erasing them. Okay. I should have my mat under me. Alright. Then I'm going to put my 2 stems. Do this one first, and I'm going to shoot for the middle. Okay. Okay. Alrighty, and then I'll put the leaves on. Okay. And then we can glue this right onto the scallop circle. I love how that background looks in the back. Okay, now we have to stamp our thank you. Now the actual sentiment is thank you for being so, and then it would have sweet or whatever that is. But I only want the thank you. So I'm going to take some of my old washi tape, which I had a lot. I was hoarding it for a while, I think, and I just didn't really use a lot of it. All right, and I'm just going to put it on. This one goes a little funky. I'm going to need 2 pieces because I messed this one up. Okay, so this one goes there. I could just stamp it and wipe it off, but sometimes you get that little bit of a halo kind of thing. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to use my Merry Merlot again. No. Oh, goodness. My Mossy Metal. Okay. I'm not going to try to get any on the tape, but some usually does get on there. And then I'm just going to put it to the left side of my tag. Great. Dry a second. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take our natural finish ribbon and put it like this so that the tail is towards you, and then we're going to wrap it around, and it's going to be tied in a bow right at the top, okay, so that this one is a little lower on the right hand side. I'm going to make a loop and then go around the back with the other piece. Okay, and I'm just going to give it a slight angle, not too much. Okay, is that the same? This one's a little more. Okay. and then we're going to put this right on top. All right, so the bottom is straight right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 on each side. Okay, and then I'm just going to center it on the box. Make sure your ribbon is straight in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to take the thank you and we're going to just leave about a 1/4 inch after the end of the sentiment and then just snip it off. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue right up here above the actual word you and a dimensional on the beginning. And I'm just going to have it overlap a little bit. Oops, I have it hanging off a little. Okay. Now we need some linen thread, and I'm just going to make a little teeny bow. I'm going to put it right now on the top of the cherry stems. And I'm going to take a little dot of glue back, and I'm just going to place it right up here at the top. This one's just a little longer. Okay, and for the final touch, sorry I'm all crooked here, I'm going to take some Iridescent Rhinestone Basic Jewels and the other side of my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm just going to put 2 of them right at the end of the sentiment. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed my cherry box today. If you have any questions, my email is below. My blog is linked below that has all of the measurements, and also the link to shop and the link to join is down there also. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.